Vision Network.
The Tamara Scott Show. Tamara has served as the state director for one of America's largest pro-life, pro-family public policy organizations. In 2007, Tamara was named one of America's top 10 most influential kingmakers by the Religion News Association. Tamara has spent years proclaiming and defending the values of a Christian worldview that is the foundation of our constitutional republic. And now, here is your host, Tamara Scott.
Everybody, welcome. I am Tamara Scott. It is Monday, May 4th. I'm telling you, does it catch you by surprise sometimes just how quickly time goes? I know they say when you get older, it goes faster. I never thought so. I thought it would faster as a kid. I don't know. It seems to fly by anymore. I'm curious if there's something in the end times I need to look at that says that time will go at a faster pace, right? Anyway, here we are Monday. Now, a lot happened over the weekend. Iowa finished its session. I will say it finished its session. I won't say it completed. Business at hand, nothing for eminent domain, absolutely nothing. No property protection or protection for property rights. Now a new concerning bill, the hydrogen pooling bill that we had Congressman King speak to last week was passed. We hear there might have been a few safeguards put in place, but not enough to give most of us peace. So in a 48-hour session or 40 some hours, they went straight through, which I don't think is ever healthy or a good idea. And I'm one who can stay up all night. I can do it. I've done it. I've done it for years. And it sometimes is it's my energy. It's when I work the best. But for most people, that's not the case. And I don't even know if it's smart. So it's a little frustrating when these issues that are core principles on liberty, constitutionally, biblically, property rights come from the Bible. Prince says, you shall not take, the Bible says the prince shall not take the inheritance of his people. Pretty clear. Prince can't take it. I don't think the government can either. I don't think the government should, the governor or the legislature. So concerning, absolutely concerning. And we have Republican majorities. Now, I'm thrilled because I've seen some of the bills that have been brought forward by Democrats that thankfully haven't seen the light of day. If we lost that majority, it would be frightening for all of us. Our life bills, end of life bills, our freedom, our liberties would really be under siege. So since we're in the middle of a midterm and looking at a gubernatorial race, it is concerning, and I pray like never before that eyes are opened with the voters, because as I said to a group last night, it's not enough that you vote. You have to vote in the primary. The primary is when we pick that perfect candidate. Not that there's a perfect one out there, but the one that most perfectly suits your goals, your values, your virtues, integrity as a candidate. I wish people would quit looking at flash, I said last night, and start looking at foundations. Who has the constitutional foundations? Who understands the foundations of this nation? Who has the steadfast maturity to lead, right? And unfortunately, from what I'm seeing, it's not always the individual that I think does. So we've got to get back into that. But as I warn people, you have to vote informed. You have to get involved and vote informed. Do some homework and know who and why you're voting, and make sure that they're constitutionally sound. All right. So that was some of my weekend plans. We had big Friday night. Senator Ted Cruz and RNC co-chair Casey Crosby was here. An incredible event. IFFC, Iowa Faith and Freedom. Incredible room. 1,100 people filled the room, and got to hear the gubernatorial candidates. Some of the other candidates who do have primaries. Not all of the candidates were there, but some of the candidates who have primaries. So lots happening here. Lots happening in your world. Over the weekend, Friday, the 1st, May 1st, was May Day. We had Linda Harvey from Mission America talk to us last week about what we could expect, prepared you to be ready to keep your child safe, because the public schools are turning pupils into protesters. Pupils into protesters. They were busing kids out of schools on Friday to protest across the state or city, but across the nation as well. And so in Linda's article, if we can just go, she talks about, and I gave you the link, I think, to go to her website, Thomas, but she calls it the May Day marches, Billionaire Suicide Day. She said the theme was workers over billionaires. There was clearly actually billionaires funding the May Day protest. One of the major contributors is a man named Neville Royal Singham, who's very sympathetic to communist China, married to a woman who heads up the radical group Code Pink. You all familiar with that? The teachers union, the NEA, the AFT were a big force behind the May Day protest movement. School systems in Chicago shut down, and many cities in North Carolina saw their students given the day off, as well as teachers calling in sick. But what was the reaction to the real workers? Here's one comment on X. I work in construction. My son's school is closed because teachers called out to the protest in Raleigh. I don't get paid if I don't show up. No work, no paycheck. Just to talk to his teacher, she admitted they were getting full pay while marching. He said, I'm done. These entitled folks don't deserve another dime in raises. Teachers, do your job or find another one. Our kids come first, not your rally. And that's from Mission America. All right, so let's pop over if we can, because Laura Trump talked about it just briefly on her show as well. Let's start at 129. Let's start at 129. She talks about busing the kids. And while you're getting there, Laura does a good job as well, noting that you couple this. They were talking on the show that when they were interviewing some of these folks, adults, teachers, whoever, on the protest about what they like so much about socialism, because it was really a pro-socialist, pro-communist march. In fact, they were laughing. They had to put away their No King signs since they all welcomed King Charles so much. But they were asking some of the protesters what you like about socialism or communism, and they couldn't answer. When they asked what countries were successful in communism or socialism, they mentioned Russia, the Soviet Union, and China. Think about this. Think about this, because people have no rights whatsoever, no freedom of speech, no ability to even determine at one point what kids you had, how many kids you had with their one-child policy. Think about this. This is what your teachers are espousing to your students and trying to turn your pupils into protesters to fit their cause. All right, so let's go to 129. We'll stop at 156.
Seeing kids to these events, to these rallies around the country. And at a time when you have kids who aren't even reading or doing math at grade level, what were they learning in school yesterday alongside these rallies? They were learning activism, transgender issues, and DEI. This is shameful and this is crazy. This whole thing was a waste of time and resources. But hey, I guess anything to get the kids on the socialist bandwagon early, guys.
That's exactly.
All right. So I think you stopped at 156. I couldn't hear it, but I'm trusting that that was the case. And then 241, I just want to go on this frame. We've talked about pulling the kids out of school. All right, so let's go to 241. This is from Fox News. This is the absentee rate, 18 plus days in 2025. So I suppose that would be the spring semester, the fall semester in 2025. 30% of middle school students miss over 18 days of school. 57% of high school students miss over 18 days of school in the year chronically. And so I just did a quick search to see what the reading proficiency or the proficiency of the students were. And so, of course, right away, AI says 18% of middle school students tested at or above the proficient level for reading, 15% tested at or above the level for math, and 15% of high school students tested at or above the proficient level and for reading, and 14% tested at or above the level for math. Now that is, I assume, AI because it didn't, well, no, that's Chicago Public Schools, U.S. News Education, Chicago Public Schools. All right, so when you actually wonder what the proficient level is, and I'm not sure here, but many of the testing, it's 40% or less. So they're already failing. Their proficient level is already failing. But of those who are failing, still only 15% of those tested or above hit the level for math. Only 15% of those in high school were tested at or above the proficient level for reading, 14% for the tested at above or the level for math. And yet they're taking these students out of school, the one days they may show up, and busing them across cities to these protests, where you should have heard Laura Trump saying they're teaching them about transgenderism. They're teaching them about DEI, how to be activists. We've been learning about this for some time, but now you're seeing it in front of your face blatantly. And so Laura also said, couple this with the attack by a teacher, the alleged assassination, the attempted assassination by an alleged individual who is a teacher with these types of protests. This is what they're willing to do out in front of you. In the media, I ask you, what are they doing behind the closed doors of the school, the classroom that you never get to see unless it's Parents' Day and they've taken down the posters, or unless it is, if you go in with a pass, they know you're coming in. You don't often get to even go back to your child anymore without permission. You go through the magtrometer, just like a penitentiary or an asylum. What are you preparing your child to do when you have no idea what they're teaching your children in the school? All right, we've got to go to break. We will be right back shortly after this. Our guest is Tom DeWeese, and here's what we're going to be talking about. Let me set it up. Tom wrote an article in 2018 on the SPLC with recent headlines of what's happening at the SPLC. It just seems so fitting again, so we're going to have him back. But remember, they call these groups hate groups. So before I go to Tom, let's see, can you go to the article? I think I gave you the link. I don't think I numbered it though. I gave you the link to the Washington Stand, washingtonstand.com. If you can go to that, Thomas, there you go. Thank you so much. It's a ways down that I'm going to get to. But first, they're talking about the attack right there, the stunning act of heroism. They're talking about the stunning attack and how their own security guard was able to stop this man coming in. This man is by the name of Floyd Corkins. He approached the door, rang the buzzer, asked how he could, the gentleman, the guard asked how he could help. He said the man said he was interested in the intern program and wanted to speak to someone about a possible internship. Anyway, you all know the story. You can go to this. I've got it on the Tamara Scott Show Facebook page. He comes in FRC, I believe it was August 2012, with the intention of shooting, had a gun in his backpack. The guard saw the gun in his hand and wrestled him to the ground, still got shot in the arm, still had to have some major surgery, bone transplants from the leg to his arm to help reinforce the arm. But I want to get down so far, and I don't know where you'll find this in the article, so let me just read it to you from my notes. This is from that article. Porkins had become angered by FRC and Chick-fil-A, their public stance on biblical sexuality, having learned the FRC through the Southern Poverty Law Center's website, which designated FRC as a hate group. So despite the shooting, SPL's designation of FRC still remains to this day, and this was as of the 2022 10-year anniversary, the writing in this article on that. He had taken in a Chick-fil-A sandwiches because he was going to smear them all over the bodies of those he thought he was going to shoot. That was his intention. All right. So Tom DeWeese from American Policy Center is going to join us and talk about the SPLC, the damage they've done. Like this, you could say they should be held responsible for that shooting. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Tamara Scott Show, Tom DeWeese.
I need to tell you about our Bella Grace. This slender little sachet has the elixir with the collagen, astaxanthin, and cat's claw. In 2022, got an award for helping with cognitive function, and in 2023 in the sports arena for active ingredients, nutrition, and format. But the best is what we hear from so many of you. You have noticed better joint health, improved mobility, less eye strain and fatigue, helping with computer vision syndrome, visual acuity, depth perception, alleviating dry eyes, but also helping with your immunity, your stress management, endurance, less fatigue overall, not just eye fatigue, muscle recovery, mental clarity, focus, and gut health. Then there's the fun list. The firmer, smoother skin texture, fewer fine lines and wrinkles, improved skin elasticity, decreased age spots, more even skin tone, improved skin hydration, reduced oxidative stress, healthier nails, less cellulite, hair health, better sleep. Who wouldn't want any of those? Call them beauty in items if you wish, but who doesn't want to feel a little bit better or more confident when you're going to present in the public square, when you're going to speak at a city council? And who just doesn't want to feel a little healthier? Maybe they're just byproducts of being healthier. More information at tamara.bellagraceglobal.com, tamara.bellagraceglobal.com.
Okay. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. And now, so I'm telling you, some of the best conversations we have are during the break. Sorry, you all missed those. When we used to do Facebook Live, you could have seen him with us. Tom DeWeese is my guest today. He is the founder, the president of the American Policy Center. It's an internationally recognized expert. He is an internationally recognized expert on the issue of sustainable development and its attack on private property. He's the author of 3 books, including Now Tell Me I Was Wrong, which I'm going to have to get that book, Tom DeWeese. I'm going to have to get that book. And then you have Erase and Sustainable, The War on Free Enterprise, Private Property, Individuals. So how can we find your books?
Well, they are right now on Amazon. You can get them from there. But I will tell you, I'm not real happy with dealing with them. And I'm working on getting a new publisher that will give me much more I think exposure and so forth with it. So that should happen in the next month.
So I've had a couple publishers reach out to me. I will see if I can remember who they were and see if I can connect you with some of those groups who might be able to help you if you want sometime. We'll talk about that.
Okay. All right.
All right. So, okay. Where do we start? This whole thing with the the Southern Law Poverty, SLPC, Southern Law Poverty Center. We've all known it. Tom, you wrote this article that we're going to talk about today, in 2018?
Yeah, I did. And I wrote that because they were attacking me. They did 4 separate reports on me that I was American Policy Center and I a hate group. And it's really interesting because what we were going after obviously was Agenda 21. And they said Agenda 21 is not a treaty. It has no force of law, no enforcement mechanism, no penalties, and no significant funding. It's not even a top-down recommendation, seeking instead to encourage communities around the world to come up with their own solutions to overpopulation, pollution, poverty, and resource depletion. It's a feel-good guide that cannot force anyone anywhere to do anything at all. That's what they said. And I beg to differ with that and was exposing everything I could about how it was being put in place across the country, around the world, a global agenda. And so I became a hate group and warmonger and, everything else. And so
Thomas, I just did a quick search on groups listed as hate groups by listed by SPLC, and it gave me their hate map. So Thomas, I don't know if you can find that for us. I sent you the link on text if it went through, but they've got a pretty it's a map of the United States with a lot of red dots on it signifying. I mean, they were not messing around, Tom DeWeese. They were not shy about what they've been doing. They've been doing this for quite some time, as you talk about in your article. There you go. That's a little bit different than mine, but I think it's pretty accurate. I think not only, Tom, and I think you talked about this, not only do they mention hate groups, but they specifically went after various people and they gave the locations where those people lived, i.e. the women who spoke out against the dangers of Sharia law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have. I mean, the one big article that they did that first mentioned me on the cover of it was Phyllis Schlafly, Glenn Beck. They did have George H.W. Bush on there because he's the one who actually signed Agenda 21 for the United States, and then they had me on the cover as well, and they kept reporting that what they said was Tom DeWeese, perhaps the leading critic of the plan Agenda 21, will lead to a new dark ages of pain and misery yet unknown to mankind. Yeah, I said that. And but that's but yeah, all right, one of those dots is American Policy Center in Virginia, and they anybody that that opposed their viewpoint, their political viewpoint, was a hate monger and probably a domestic terrorist. That's just how they started labeling everybody like that.
Well, let's get into this. I remember, as I told you, 2009, 10, 11, sometime in there, being at the Iowa State House and speaking to a rally of folks, because I think it was Obama was calling or going to call Christians extremists and terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
That fit in with this SPLC. I see in 2009, you wrote the Department of Homeland Security issued a report entitled Right-Wing Extremism, Current Economic and Political Climate Fueling Resurgence and Radicalization and Recruitment.
So what they did, incredibly, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, Department of Justice, used the Southern Poverty Law Center as a resource to tell them about domestic terrorists, to start to put together government policy on what they call domestic terrorists. And I mean, the FBI had right on their website mentioning Southern Poverty Law Center and giving some of the details they were putting out. And all this was about anybody who had conservative viewpoints, who believed in limited government rather than massive federal government or global government, that we were domestic terrorists. And even in some of these plans, they had some of the let's see, what was it? This one thing, they had the Countering Violent Extremism Working Group that they put together in 2010, and on that group, on the advisory group, was Mohammed Majid, president of the Islamic Society of North America. I mean, if there was ever going to be a terrorist group, there it was. But they were advising the Department of Justice about Americans who really disagreed with massive government control. And this is how they began to put those policies together through the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Right. And so that's what, right along with that group, they're protecting this man who, as you say, is, if anybody's going to be up there with a terroristic group, this one might be it. And yet women, I can't remember the name you have, U.S. Women Against Sharia, perhaps it was, but they listed the women and where they lived. And as you said, if you know Islam, if you understand Islam, naming women and giving their location was an extremely dangerous thing to do.
Oh, absolutely. But for anybody, they have listed my address in there where I live. And you do wonder sometimes when you go out, if you see a car outside that looks a little strange or whatever, you wonder. And I still do now. And as a lot of this, we are seeing the radicalization of the Democratic Party that is, going farther and farther in this direction of this leftist thing. And you just wonder, you put out an article, they don't like it. Are they going to come for you? You don't know.
So the Southern Poverty Law Center also labeled Concerned Women for America a hate group. That's the Concerned Women for America group that I'm a state director for Iowa. Penny Nance, our president, commented on it when they did it. I'm trying to think of what date this was, 2013. They really came after any group that was making any difference in educating the public, standing for righteousness, standing on the Constitution. I mean, if you supported the Constitution, they came after you.
Yeah. George Washington was a horrible terrorist, and Thomas Jefferson, and so forth. We have to watch out for these guys. No, I mean this is what I've been telling for all these years, for really 35 years, is there is a global agenda to take control of the whole world. And Agenda 21 was one of their tools to do that. Now you've got the Great Reset and the Green New Deal, the Global Agenda 2030. These were all pieces and parts. And what a lot of people don't realize is that in your community, your local elected officials are surrounded by an army of non-governmental organizations that bring these policies into them. Some of them they'll bring in the whole agenda. Some of them they'll bring in just one particular issue. How what your transportation system is going to be, or what building materials you should use as you develop the community. That kind of thing. And all of them lead to this global agenda step by step by step. They don't just come in and say, we're going to completely wipe out the United States government. We're going to put this in place. They do a little bit at a time. What they've used climate change for is to get you frightened, the use of fear to get you to voluntarily give up your liberties. That is one of their main tactics. And so then these NGOs come into city council and say, well, people are really worried about climate change. Here's some things we can put in place. Hey, we've got the grant money for you too. You don't even have to think. And this is step by step how they put this in place. And the Southern Poverty Law Center saying that Agenda 21 had no enforcement capability or whatever. Yeah, it does. This is how they enforce it. This is how they put it in place. Next thing you know, it's the city policy, it's the county, it's the state policy. And did you vote for it? No. But these local elected officials who many times are extremely ignorant of a lot of these things don't know what this is about, and they help put it in place. Say, oh, this is what we're doing.
I remember years ago, and we've got maybe 30 seconds left, you and I were talking about ICLEI. Remember ICLEI? And no one even knows what that is, but it was something they would bring into small rural cities and say, we'll help you take care of your program, your software. You can use our ICLEI. And it brought them into what? This globalist agenda, correct?
Absolutely. ICLEI helped sign Agenda 21, helped write it, and they made it their goal to bring that agenda into every community in the world. Their words.
And as you're talking, these county city officials, it's not we're saying ignorant in a negative derogatory term, but there's so much new to learn. You find somebody to run for a county supervisor, and a lot of times you're scrapping to find somebody who can put the time out to do that. They're learning as they go. And you have these organizations come in and offer things that look like great helps, and sometimes they're free. I think ICLEI was free, if I remember correctly. And that's how they bring these folks in, and that's how we get a lot of these rotten policies. All right, we're not done talking about the SPLC. We will be back. Tom Luis could talk about any of it. As he said, 35 plus years, we were talking about how long it's been since I've been interviewing him. He was one of my first big catches, my first big guest. I got an interview on my little terrestrial radio station when I first started in 1998. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. More to come.
Do you like drinking toxins that could cause cancer, inflammation, and all kinds of other autoimmune diseases? Of course you don't. Well, much of our water in America is full of toxins. That's a proven fact. WorldviewWater.net. WorldviewWater.net is your solution so that you can drink good, clean water. In fact, I give it to all my 3 fur babies, all my 3 dogs. I have one under my kitchen sink, one of these filters, as well as on my shower. WorldviewWater.net.
This is our new NutraSwish, Numi NutraSwish. You can find more information at neumi.com/TTSS. neumi.com/TTSS, one of the products we offer because you all have different preferences and respond differently to different items. So this is our lavender. It's for ladies anywhere along your journey. No hormones in it, but if you're taking a hormonal supplement, you might want to check with your doctor. The blue is for anyone over the age of 18. It has the glutathione, which is a antioxidant, helps with over 400 cellular functions, and it helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, one of those terms we learned after 2020, and it helps detox glyphosate. The good glutathione helps detox glyphosate. Glyphosate is found in ag chemicals or lawn chemicals, and some are very concerned about possible links to cancers, HPVs, and diabetes. But the blue bottle, the glutathione, helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, and glyphosate. Then there's the mango colored bottle you see on your screen. Numi Neuro helps with your mind, your memory, and your focus. Now, again, after 2020, we heard something about brain fog, a term we'd not heard before. Whether it's from a virus or a vaccine, many have found relief, a little help with Numi Neuro, the mango-colored bottle. When used with the blue bottle, it is so positive that the American Brain Council wrote about it and it looked like an endorsement. Though we're told they don't write endorsements, it was simply a positive review of what they saw. You can find more information at neumi.com/TTSS. neumi.com/TTSS for the Tamara Scott Show. Why? Because we want you feeling your best. And when you use that TTSS link, you help us be our best.
All right. Joining me is Tom DeWeese, American Center for American Policy. But Tom, what's your website?
American Policy Center, and it's americanpolicy.org is the website.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
All right, we've
Yeah.
been talking about the SPLC. So explain why we're talking about this now. Why is this all of a sudden we're talking about your article from 2018, but it's so timely?
Well, finally, the Department of Justice, that has been under the influence of the Southern Poverty Law Center for all these years, has finally started to investigate and find what criminals they actually are. And the big issue that keeps coming up back a few years back in Charlottesville, Virginia, there was a big protest there. They were going to take down the Robert E. Lee statue. And so there's a big protest there, and all of a sudden the KKK shows up and supposedly started violence and so forth. The incredible thing, I want to tell you this, Tamara. I've been an activist in this movement for 59 years. And I have never run into a member of the KKK anywhere. It's, they may be around, whatever, but they're not active. They're basically non-existent. All of a sudden, a whole bunch of them show up in Charlottesville to start all kinds of, crisis there. Well, what they found out, the Department of Justice, is the Southern Poverty Law Center was paying them to exist, basically, so they could use them as, see, here's the violent right. This is what the right is doing. The people who hated the slaves, and on and on and on. They continue to push that agenda and that line. And but now we find out that it was the Southern Poverty Law Center creating the entire thing.
And I've never felt right about the whole Charlottesville thing. It just didn't feel right. I went to that location a year later and just kind of prayed my way through it. But even the coverage of it, even the aftermath, they tried to nail the president and force him to say things about various sides. The young man in his car, who I think is now doing life in prison. If you're a young man in your car, and it was a nice car, it was a sporty little car, that is the most important probably possession you have at that age and stage of your life. And they all were coming after it with ball bats. I would have seen myself hitting the gas to get out of there as well.
Yeah.
Right? But now he's charged, facing life in prison. And I mean, it's tragic that someone lost their life. It was a civil rights paralegal, I think. You would think that person would be smart enough to know not to be in front of a car with that type of situation going on. And you have to wonder, were they instigating, like those with the ball bats? What exactly were the actions of that victim? Because sometimes we find out later the victim somewhat instigated something as well. I just don't feel like we ever had a full I'm not trying to say he shouldn't be doing time, but life in prison, and I'm not sure we ever had a fair trial. Is that
I think that's entirely possible, because if the KKK quote unquote, hadn't been there creating violence, there wouldn't have been violence in the first place. They were just simply protesting the taking down of historic statues. And, but who was causing the violence to start with? And if a guy is pounding on my car, if a crowd is coming after me, I'm going to get out of there.
Right.
And I mean, this kind of goes along with the same thing. If somebody breaks into your home, whether they're armed or not, and you use a gun to protect your family, protect your home, and you are accused of violence. I mean, this is how insane it is. They can continue to do that. This is about control, controlling your actions, controlling what you do, and getting rid of any opposition whatsoever. This is how they do it. They scare you to death and to make it so you're afraid to stand up. And you see a lot of people right now who are afraid to attend rallies, protests, anything like that, because what kind of violence is going to break out and what are they going to be accused of?
Right. And as you say, they had deemed anyone who had voted for Ron Paul a terrorist. Right. So
yes,
that's
Christians. And I heard just the other day that another one of these radical spokesmen saying that very thing. Anybody who voted for Donald Trump should be shot or put in prison. I heard him say that the other day. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's what we're doing.
We got to save democracy, right?
Right. We live in a republic, but they like to call it a democracy, right? So, and then you have the ways they did it. So those of you who are wondering, and I know people, I've heard people who have been debanked. Remember the whole debanked, lost their own. Michael Lindell, great example, right? Joachim, I think his name is Joachim. His sister was trafficked. I don't know his full name. He was debanked. I heard him speak when I was at the War Room, Economic War Room down in Texas. And then there was another pro-life lady who had hers debanked as well. So you talk about it. The Discover card, one of the nation's leading credit card companies, denied conservative group the use of their card to accept donations. QuickBooks canceled a subscription of its product to a Christian organization because they opposed same-sex marriage. Several reports of social media giant Facebook censoring and banning conservative posts. Of course, that really came to light in COVID when many of our views were suppressed. And then Google taking steps to deny internet searches for conservative websites. We still see that today. We still see that.
And this is the same tactic, going back, to digital ID and something Bill Gates is really pushing for. And when he talks about how you be shut out of society, these are examples of how you be shut out of society. If you go against the beliefs of this agenda, of this force that's working to put this agenda in place, this is what happens. You shut out of society the very things you need to, your credit cards. It can affect your transportation, getting around. We now see what's happening in cars. You mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the shut off valve on cars. This is how you get shut out of society. This is what we're fighting. When we talk about Agenda 21 or the Green New Deal or the Great Reset or whatever, if you look down deeply into their documents or what they say, they're very open about where they want to go with this. It is about control of everything you think, do, or say, so that you comply with what they want. And there's no hope of freedom there. There's no hopes, there's no dreams, there's no ability to live a life you want to live, because they have decided this is what you're going to do. And if you don't, they're going to use violence against you. They're going to shut you down.
You were one of the first talking about sustainable development and how it was not helpful for us. It wasn't sustainable for us and our freedom and our liberties. But you just mentioned how they use that climate change, the fear of climate change, to force us into those globalist ideas, to force us into the communistic and the socialistic ideas, which, by the way, we just mentioned May 1st, your teachers took time out of school. Many of them got full pay and took your students, made protesters out of pupils, many of them in school districts that are not proficient or efficient or even able to read at grade level in the high school, in the middle school, and even the elementary schools. But they're making activist protesters out of your pupils on these very issues. Before you came on, they asked some of them, what give us a successful communist or socialistic country. They named China. They named Soviet Union. These are according to Laura Trump on Fox News. All right, so when we're talking about coming through this and the climate change is a great way to push these agendas, I'm going to ask you a question. He was not planning on this, folks. I'm throwing this in before we go to break because we're going to come back and talk about data centers, which is one more way they will be able to control the data, house the data, and control us even more deliberately and frighteningly. But before we go, we're talking about communism, socialism, and this to me fits in that parallel. I was at an event last night and a candidate for governor and the Republican ticket said, I was losing people. Our birth rate's not keeping up. Our seniors are either moving away, dying out. It's not a winning, it's just not winning. We need, for the economy, we need people to come back. So you Republicans may not like this, but what if we paid students who have moved away to college to come back, or people who have moved away for jobs to come back to our state? Now, my husband thinks he gave an amount of 100,000. I did not hear the 100,000, but I heard give money away. I don't care if it's $10. I don't like the idea of giving people money to move back into our state. I'm going to let you comment your thoughts.
Well, first of all, you look at why did they leave? That's the first thing to look at. Second of all, that money is your money. It's
That's
out
right.
of the pockets of the people there. And if they're taking more and more tax money out of their pockets to do this, they're going to leave. That's why people are leaving. And so you look at the policies that are in your state and begin to what we've been preaching for all these years is revert back to a government of limited government that takes as little as necessary out of your pocket, and you live your life as you choose. They'll come back if you do that. You might want to take a look at Florida that is doing a lot of that.
So I've had a little bit more time to digest this than you have, and here's my thoughts. Like I said, I don't care how much money it is, but you're punishing the kids who stayed here. Adult kids who are taking care of their families, helping mom and dad with doctor's appointments so that the health nurse doesn't have to do it. We know families are stronger when they stay together and costs are less. So you're going to punish those people who stayed there to reward those who left, who probably for financial reasons that were probably rewarding. And now you're going to take that money. What about the students who didn't go to college but did a vocation, went right into the workforce? You're going to take money from them to give to people who went and got a college education? This just doesn't bode with me at all. And as you said, why did they leave? We have another candidate, by the way, who says he's going to help the economy so that people can afford to stay here as seniors with the property tax, etc., but that will help keep their families here, which seems the smarter way to do. But here's the last thing that hit me as we're talking about communism and socialism, Tom. What type of a government tells someone where they can live?
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. Look at New York City now, what they're doing. They are losing billionaires who are leaving there, not investing and so forth. And they want to make some kind of rule to make them come back. It's just
right. So even if you're financially incentivizing it, it's still communism and socialism.
Yes.
Still the dangling carrot, and you're controlling people's lives because they said they would have to live in a rural area. Well, first off, how are you going to make that happen? And two, how do you know they're going to get here and be productive in the workforce? What types of parameters and policing are you going to do on people? This is just fraught with peril to me, but it sounded like a good idea from one of our younger candidates. And so I will tell you guys, you better use your wisdom. As I said in the first part of this program, you better be informed. You better do your homework because the ones with the flash don't necessarily have the foundation to be a strong leader. And the most polished speaker may not be the most principled leader. We'll be right back. We'll talk about data centers. Tom DeWeese is my guest, American Policy Center. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
With Tom DeWeese, and we brought up that Charlottesville, and I told you I just never had peace about that whole thing. Administration to speak out against hate groups that espouse racism, extremism, and xenophobia. It just felt so pressured and rushed, and the whole narrative was just so wrong on so much of this. And so I've got this article on the Tamara Scott Show Facebook page, but you can find it at AmericanPolicyIsIt.org.
Yes, AmericanPolicy.org. Yes.
All right. All right. And that was written in 2018. But I want you to understand, Tom DeWeese is ahead of the curve on so much of this. He was writing about this, and it fits today, now that it's broken, that the SPLC has been not so honest in their money use and fraudulently sending money apparently to groups that they then deemed hate groups. Wow. Funny, they never sent any of that money to CWA. Did they send you any of that money?
Never sent me any of that money, no. And they've done 4 separate reports. They should have, paid me for all 4 of them.
All right, we're going to jump now to something that is a great concern to many of our viewers across the states, across the country. It is the data centers, and we've talked a little bit about it. Andy Shapley talked about some of the demands and the fact that, according to him, one of the mayors in one of the cities said 99-1 oppose these data centers. Now, that's not a scientific poll, but that's what this mayor says and seeing. And then we have the great story we talked about out of Festus, Missouri. A whole city council ousted when they refused to listen to the voters who did not want the data center. And they voted for it anyway, just happened to have primaries or something around the corner, and they voted them all out. Even the guy who voted against it, they took him out with it, a sweeping change. Tom, you've been studying this because of the work you do. What are you finding?
All right, well, first of all, let me tell you, as I said, I've been an activist for a very long time. I have never seen a grassroots movement grow and so fast and so effective as this one. The people in communities all over this country are standing up and opposing what is happening with these data centers. It's a grassroots movement. It's local people, and it is amazing to me. I just wrote an article for New American Magazine. It's going to be the cover article in June. And I had to upgrade it or update it 3 times in the time I was doing it because another thing happened, and I've never seen a grassroots movement grow like that. And I was just discovering this morning with a conversation I had with someone else that you want a bipartisan issue. There are a huge number of Democrats standing up to fight this. And this is an absolute attack on all of human society. I have said several times, first of all, going to the root of it is AI, artificial intelligence. And, there are some good things in technology that can be helpful things. But this is a massive move to control and record. The reason they need these massive data centers is because they are putting every single thing that happens in human society worldwide in these data centers, in these files. So they know where you've gone, who you associate with, what you eat, where you live, how your transportation, on and on and on and on. Of course, everything that happens in your schools, everything like that is being put into these data centers.
Everything you search for.
Mm-hmm.
Every conversation you have. How many of you talked about, I think we should get a new lamp for whatever room that is. And all of a sudden you have lamp ads on your phone. And I've had situations where I promise you, I haven't even said it. I've thought it, and things have come to my phone. And I'm not sure how that works. They talked about in cars, how they can watch your eyes. And if you're looking at a restaurant, they'll put the information for the restaurant on your screen, which I'm not sure how that's any more distracting than having a phone for these hands-free devices. But you and I were talking about it in your cars. They're saying your car is your biggest data collection center. More so than your phone. Your car can collect all kinds of data about you. Tom, do you think that they're recording what we say in our cars?
I do. I mean, they've got the technology to do that. And the one thing we were discussing earlier, that this thing with your eyes, that I was told, and actually this past weekend I was with someone who's one of our people who has a new car, and and they were working to try to shut off a lot of things that happen there. But one of the things it's doing when it's watching your eyes, if you divert your eyes over, it'll go, "You've diverted your eyes. Pull over. Pull over." It's like, are you kidding me? I will not buy a new car now because I want to drive it. I don't want it driving me.
Right.
And I think the way that we stop this is stop buying them. We're going to have to live off of used cars for as long as they'll last. I have a 1997 Thunderbird that's running like a new car because I keep it up. And I'm very happy with that car. And if I had to escape someday, that's the one I'd drive.
Right.
You know?
Well, we talk about with the EMF and all these other threats, having a car that's older without the computer chips so that you could still have a car start. Now, gasoline will become an issue at some point, but there are a lot of people like you, Tom, who are driving older vehicles on purpose. Now, Thomas, I just sent you a link to the it's called Virtual Capitalist, virtualcapitalist.com, and it has the banned data center. It's data center bans by state. More and more people are waking up to this. They don't even know exactly how to argue or what to argue. Can you show us the map there? Thank you so much. They don't even know how to argue, what to argue. But here's the other thing that really irritates me, Tom, is that the city council, the county supervisors that we elect to represent us are withholding critical information on water usage, electricity demands, under the guise of NDAs, who the buyers are. I have one coming in my county. None of us were even allowed to hear about it till we're told it's a done deal. I'm told that I think it's BlackRock is up a few layers in the purchase of this. I'm told that. I don't know. I haven't been able to verify it because those that have the power won't share the information they have. But that's what I'm hearing from people in the business, if I have the name right. So again, that's all speculative, just from what I'm having to pick up on my own. Oh, and by the way, there is a city Facebook page, and my husband posted a couple things about data centers on there. Gone. As soon as he posted them, gone. That is your censorship from your city officials elected to represent you.
Exactly. Yeah. This is what happens. And as our opposition grows, you're going to see more and more of that. They'll get real quiet about it. Don't want to talk about it. And we have got to challenge that. Sometimes they will have a public meeting to tell you how wonderful they're going to be. You need to have your details and be able to challenge them. I had a lady write to me the other day with an idea I thought was fantastic. She said, you need to put together a recall petition with those local elected officials' name on it. And as they're discussing this, have people in the audience signing it. I think that's a pretty good.
If your state has recall, absolutely. We don't have that in Iowa. So that's not an option for us. But I so appreciate, Tom, you joining me today, the work that you're doing. Again, give the website if people want to follow you and find more information.
Yeah, we've got a 35-year archive of all this information on our archive, so on our website, so you can find all this kind of stuff we're talking about, and our latest articles are about these things. So go to AmericanPolicy.org and you can learn all about it.
We hope to have more. We'll look forward to that New American with you on the feature article. And to everybody out there, thanks for stopping in with us. These are issues that you need to jump on. You cannot let this just go by. You, as Tom says, show up, be armed with the facts. You will find information. Some searches, you will find some information on this, but you cannot let this go unanswered, and hold your elected officials accountable. And we'll talk more about the constitutionality of the NDAs. I don't think they are, and my expert says they are not. To everybody out there, we tell you live boldly, love better, laugh bigger, be encouraged, and never be complacent.